Welcome to the world of science fiction, where each new adventure opens up endless horizons of imagination. Today, we will listen to a story called Amazon's Choice. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. The warning lights flashed angrily across the control panel, and I felt the spacecraft shudder violently. My hands danced over the controls, desperately trying to stabilize the ship. "Come on, hold together," I muttered through gritted teeth. But the main engine had other plans, and the failure warning screamed louder. The planet's atmosphere hit us like a brick wall, and the ship began to spin uncontrollably. I fought the controls, muscles straining, but it was no use. The ground rushed up to meet me, a blur of greens and browns, and then everything went black. I woke with a start, the smell of burnt electronics filling my nostrils. Pain lanced through my side, but nothing felt broken. I unstrapped myself and stumbled out of the cockpit. The lush landscape around me looked like something out of a dream. Dense jungles, towering trees, and vibrant alien flora. Despite the ache in my ribs, I felt a pang of wonder. Survival instincts kicked in. First, I needed to assess the damage. The ship was a wreck. The communication systems were completely fried. No way to send a distress signal. I scavenged what I could: tools, a portable scanner, a couple of emergency rations, and set out to find a vantage point. If I could get high enough, maybe I'd spot a settlement or at least a clearing. The jungle was alive with sounds: chirps, rustles, and the distant calls of unseen creatures. Every step I took seemed to echo loudly, and I felt eyes on me. I moved cautiously, scanning the area with the portable scanner, but the dense vegetation made it nearly useless. I was pushing through a particularly thick section of underbrush when they struck. The first blow came out of nowhere, knocking the wind out of me. I tried to react, but strong hands pinned me to the ground. My vision swam, and I caught glimpses of my attackers: tall, muscular women with fierce eyes and elaborate tattoos. One of them barked a command in a language I didn't understand. Before I could process what was happening, they bound my hands and blindfolded me. The next thing I knew, they were dragging me through the jungle. I struggled, but their grip was iron. We traveled for what felt like hours. When they finally removed the blindfold, I was standing at the entrance of a massive city, carved into the side of a mountain. The architecture was breathtaking: towering structures adorned with intricate carvings, and bustling marketplaces filled with strange, exotic goods. They marched me through the city streets, attracting curious glances from the locals. I was an oddity, a curiosity to be inspected. Finally, they brought me before a regal figure seated on a throne made of what looked like polished bone and woven vines. "Welcome, stranger," she said, her voice commanding yet oddly gentle. "I am Queen Thalira." "And you are?" "Jake Evans," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "Explorer." Beside her stood an older woman with a calm, wise demeanor. She introduced herself as Orana, the elder of their society. Orana explained their plight: an ancient race facing extinction due to a lack of genetic diversity. My presence here was no accident. They believed my genes could save them. As they spoke, another figure stood silently to the side, her eyes filled with suspicion. Zara, a young warrior, clearly didn't trust me. Her posture radiated hostility. My only ally seemed to be a woman named Sarah, a human scientist who had been abducted years earlier and now fully integrated into their society. She offered me a small, reassuring smile. The days that followed were grueling. The Amazon's lifestyle was harsh, centered around rigorous combat training and strict communal living. I struggled to keep up, my body protesting the intense physical exertion. Every mistake I made drew scornful looks from Zara, who seemed to relish my failures. "You're not fit to be here," Zara spat one evening after a particularly brutal training session. "You don't belong with us." I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to snap back. "I'm trying," I said through gritted teeth. "Try harder," she retorted, her eyes cold. Orana, on the other hand, was patient. She took it upon herself to teach me about their history and culture, explaining their desperate need for genetic diversity. "You are more important than you realize," she told me one evening as we walked through the city. "Our survival may depend on you." Sarah also proved to be an invaluable guide. She helped me navigate the complex social structure of the Amazons, sharing tips and insights that eased my integration. Her presence was a lifeline, a reminder that I wasn't entirely alone in this alien world. One evening, Orana took me to a secluded temple at the heart of the city. The air was thick with incense, and the walls were covered in ancient carvings. "There is something you must see," she said. She began to recite an ancient prophecy, her voice echoing through the chamber. The prophecy spoke of a hybrid savior who would lead the Amazons to a new era of prosperity. As she spoke, I felt a strange sensation, a tingling at the back of my mind. The words seemed to resonate deep within me. "Many believe you are this savior," Orana said, her eyes boring into mine, "but only time will tell." The weight of her words settled heavily on my shoulders. The Amazons' expectations were immense, and the pressure was almost suffocating. I remained skeptical, focusing instead on finding a way to repair my ship and return to Earth. But a nagging doubt lingered. What if they were right? What if my presence here was no accident? The days turned into weeks, and my bond with Sarah deepened. Together, we continued to explore the mysteries of this ancient society, seeking answers that seemed just out of reach. But the conflict with Zara remained, a constant reminder that not everyone welcomed me with open arms. As the jungle whispered its secrets and the city pulsed with life, I couldn't shake the feeling that my journey had only just begun, and that the real challenge lay ahead, in the heart of this enigmatic world that had become my new home. As the weeks turned into months, my presence in the Amazon society became less of an anomaly and more of a reluctant acceptance. My daily life was filled with rigorous training sessions, and it was during these sessions that I began to earn a semblance of respect. The Amazons admired strength and resilience, and I was determined to prove I had both in spades. Sarah and I grew closer. We shared meals, conversations, and even laughter. Her knowledge of Amazon customs and her ability to navigate their complex social hierarchy were invaluable. One evening, as we sat by a fire, she revealed the personal cost of her integration. "I had to abandon everything I knew," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I found a purpose here. It wasn't easy, but I made a choice. Now you have to make yours." Her words weighed heavily on my mind. I was torn between the growing bond I felt with her and the lingering hope of returning to Earth. Training sessions were grueling but rewarding. I learned their combat techniques, their strategies, and slowly but surely I began to earn their respect. Not all Amazons were hostile. Some, like Talia, a seasoned warrior, began to see me as an asset rather than a threat. Yet Zara's hostility never waned. Her sharp glares and cutting remarks were a constant reminder that not everyone was on my side. "You're not one of us," she would hiss. "You'll never be." I couldn't deny the tension between us, but I had no choice but to endure it. Every day was a battle, both physically and emotionally, but I was determined to prove my worth. My efforts to repair the ship continued in my spare time. I scavenged parts, improvised tools, and meticulously worked on the damaged systems. But every time I made progress, something would go wrong. Wires would be cut, components would vanish, and circuits would mysteriously short out. I couldn't shake the suspicion that Zara was behind it. She had the motive and the opportunity, and her animosity towards me was no secret. Confronting her directly, however, was risky. I had no proof, and accusing her without evidence would only deepen the divide. Queen Thalira's pressure added to the strain. She demanded that I fully commit to their cause and embrace the prophecy. "You must understand, Jake," she said during one of our tense meetings. "Our future depends on you. You cannot remain on the periphery forever." Her words were a stark reminder of the immense responsibility placed on my shoulders. I felt trapped between two worlds, uncertain of my place in either. The Amazon society was steeped in rituals and traditions, and one night, Orana invited me to participate in a sacred ceremony. The air was thick with incense, and the rhythmic chanting of the Amazons created an otherworldly atmosphere. As the ritual progressed, I felt a strange sensation enveloping me. My vision blurred, and suddenly, I was transported to a place that felt both alien and familiar. Vivid images flashed before my eyes, scenes of battle, of unity, of a figure leading the Amazons to prosperity. But the figure wasn't me. It was someone else, someone I had influenced. When I came to, Orana's eyes bore into mine. "The prophecy is not as straightforward as we believed," she said. "You may not be the savior, but your presence here is crucial. The true savior may be someone you guide, someone you inspire." The revelation left me reeling. It cast doubt on my role and created a ripple of uncertainty among the Amazons. Some saw it as a sign, while others, like Zara, saw it as proof of my inadequacy. The tension reached a boiling point when Zara, feeling increasingly threatened, took drastic action. She began sabotaging my integration efforts more overtly, inciting whispers and spreading doubts about my intentions. One night she led a group of loyalists in a violent skirmish against those who supported me. The city erupted in chaos. Blades clashed, and the air was filled with the shouts and cries of combat. In the midst of the battle, I saw Sarah fighting bravely. But then, out of nowhere, she was struck down. I fought my way to her side, my heart pounding with fear and rage. She lay on the ground, blood seeping from a wound in her side. "Stay with me," I urged, trying to stem the bleeding. Her eyes flickered open, filled with pain but also determination. "Don't give up," she whispered. The skirmish left the city in disarray. The Amazons divided and the air thick with tension. Orana, ever the voice of reason, stepped in to mediate. Her calm presence was a beacon amidst the turmoil. "We cannot continue like this," Orana said, addressing both sides. "We must find a way to unite, to test Jake's worth in a manner that is fair and undeniable." She proposed a series of trials, designed to test my physical, mental, and emotional strength. The trials would be a way to prove my capabilities and, hopefully, bring the Amazons together in a common cause. The proposal was met with mixed reactions. Some saw it as a chance for redemption, others as a final test of my legitimacy. Zara's glare told me all I needed to know about her thoughts on the matter. But I had no choice. If I was to survive, to protect Sarah and find my place in this world, I would have to face the trials. The fate of the Amazon society, and perhaps my own, depended on it. The day of the trials arrived with a tense anticipation that hung heavy in the air. The Amazons gathered at the edge of the jungle, their eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. I stood at the starting point, my heart pounding, aware that this was more than just a test. It was a judgment on my place among them. Orana approached me, her expression grave but encouraging. "Remember, Jake, these trials are not just about strength. They are about resilience, wisdom, and leadership. You must show them who you truly are." The first trial was a test of survival. I was given minimal supplies and sent into the harsh wilderness. The jungle was dense and unforgiving, filled with predators and treacherous terrain. Every rustle of leaves and distant roar reminded me that I was out of my element. For days, I navigated through the jungle, relying on my wits and the survival skills I had honed over years of exploration. Hunger gnawed at me, and exhaustion threatened to overwhelm, but I pressed on. The thought of Sarah, injured but resilient, spurred me forward. Next came the trial of intellect, a series of intricate puzzles set within ancient ruins. Each puzzle was more complex than the last, requiring not just logic but an understanding of Amazon history and culture that I had learned from Orana and Sarah. Zara's presence loomed in the background, her eyes sharp, waiting for me to fail. But I didn't. I solved each puzzle with a combination of deduction and insight, piecing together the clues that revealed the Amazon's rich heritage. The final puzzle opened to a vision, a blinding light that enveloped me, transporting me to a place of clarity. In this vision, I saw Sarah standing at the center of a circle of light, her presence radiant and powerful. The realization hit me like a shockwave. She was the true hybrid savior, the one who would lead the Amazons to prosperity. I was merely a catalyst, a guide to her true destiny. I returned from the vision, the weight of the revelation heavy on my shoulders. The Amazons gathered around, their faces expectant. The prophecy, "It's not about me," I said, my voice steady. "It's about Sarah. She is the savior you've been waiting for." Gasps of disbelief echoed through the crowd. Zara's face twisted with rage and desperation. "Lies!" she screamed. "This outsider seeks to deceive us. We cannot let this stand." In a frenzy, Zara rallied her loyalists, staging an immediate attempt to overthrow Queen Thalira. The capital city erupted into chaos, the peaceful order shattered by the clashing of blades and the cries of battle. Sarah, despite her injury, stood by my side. "We have to stop this," she said, her voice filled with determination. Together, we fought alongside Thalira's loyalists, our resolve unyielding. The battle raged through the streets, each clash a test of our strength and unity. In the heart of the battle, Orana appeared, her presence commanding. She moved with a grace and power that belied her age, her every strike purposeful. But Zara, blinded by her desperation, aimed a deadly blow at me. Orana saw it coming and threw herself in the path of the blade. "No!" I shouted, catching Orana as she fell. Blood soaked her robes, her life slipping away. "You must carry on," she whispered, her eyes locking onto mine with a final, fervent plea. "Protect them." Her sacrifice galvanized me. With renewed fury, I fought back, pushing Zara and her loyalists into retreat. The battle reached its climax as Thalira, Sarah, and I cornered Zara in the grand hall. She fought with the desperation of a cornered animal, but in the end, she fell. The city slowly returned to peace, the echoes of the battle fading into memory. With Zara defeated, the Amazons looked to Queen Thalira for guidance. She stood before them, her gaze unwavering. "The prophecy has been fulfilled," she declared. "Sarah is our savior, and Jake has shown us the path forward." Sarah stepped into her role as a leader, bridging the gap between humans and Amazons. Her injury healed. She embodied the strength and wisdom the prophecy foretold. I stood by her side, my place among the Amazons finally solidified. As the days turned into months, I found a new sense of purpose. Sarah and I worked together to rebuild the society, integrating the strengths of both our cultures. The city became a beacon of cooperation and innovation, a symbol of what could be achieved when differences were embraced rather than feared. In time, Sarah and I formed a family, our bond deepened by the trials we had faced together.